Hello YouTube. This video is how normal people think, okay? So how exactly do normal people think? It's very side by side. It's not spontaneous, okay? So you need to understand, okay? So a normal person, thinks in things that, not or just, one at a time, but things that go hand in hand with what he's doing, okay? Like a white person, okay? What a white person is gonna do and what he's gonna grow up with is that he is gonna have a whole bunch of things that are miscellaneous that are, explanatory, to the situation and how he's behaving. It's average, a white guy with freckles, he has a lot of, gray stuff in the background. And what that gray stuff does is it keeps him in line, it keeps him in check in order for him, to not try anything, black, okay? Like I said, when white reflects, literally, he avoids, something black because he knows it's gonna put him in danger. However, the United States, actual school system allows what he aligns with, to progress and to evolve, while they allow, a black person, to kind of, stay still or stale, and I'm just like, how normal people think is very grainy, not like me. It's not speed, but it's a lot of, taking in things, that are very slow, mindful into account, okay? So basically how normal people think is the exact opposite, of me, where it comes to everything at once. Because what this has a lot to do with how a white guy, suppresses himself when it comes to thoughts and skateboarding, okay? Because in order to get good at skateboarding, you have to ignore something, okay? You have to, have a lot of things. So what a normal person has, like an Indian person, a white person, etc., is that they have something normal that's going on that's literally at, a regular pace, that infers about something. But let me tell you, there's a side of white people and normal people that keeps them insecure, and what that is that's when they have something going hand in hand with what they're doing. So basically, what I've been trying to say this whole video is that, white people have a point after point that they grow up with that's defined for how they look, okay? Literally, like the guy with Life of Boys, literally every fucking white person with a long nose has a point after point that they ignore that they lead up to make things like, an A&V, reading a book in Dungeons and Dragons, okay? So, what that does, okay, is that allows them to have a staying mindset instead, my mindset, which is all at once, that kind of thinks like speed, okay? So, in doing so, okay, literally the reason why she's an abusive mother is because, when I get done with a task, while I get done, with something HD, like, watching Powerpuff Girls, maybe it might just be the anime version, but, in actuality, when I win a championship, when I win a prize, literally, it's actually, feels good. It feels like it's HD, it feels like it's speed, it feels like everything at once, like I just won a championship, right? When really how you win a championship in real life, whether you're an obsessed Asian, whether you're, a Caucasian white, is that it just feels okay, okay? And the same reason why you get, springs at things is the exact same reason why you don't get jobs and why white people get jobs easy, because it goes, stay, with their lifestyle, and that's why I said, when you actually put yourself out there, it's a disturbance to white people, okay? Because that's a part of being mature. Don't expect anything, and things actually happen, okay? Um, Nevertheless, okay, so that's a lot to deal with somebody's mentality, because what that does, right, is that literally allows white people to accumulate, the same thought over time, instead of black people have their thought, pressed and corrected, all the way to the point where if a black person got to, actually express themselves, literally it will come off as literally irritating to a white person, because it just destroyed the whole little world that they built up since they were younger, okay? There's nothing more irritating than having something, side by side, point after point happening all the time that's defining how you look, instead of me having composure, literally, with something, happens, something special happens is actually special, okay? And that's how white people. What that does is that leads you, really, really, really suicidal inside, because it's nothing fucking special to me. Yes, I get everything that black people don't work their whole life for, but literally, it's defining, literally, to why everything is fucking linear to me. That goes hand in hand. Where I could have my head cut off, and that's how white people live, guys, literally. And so with this grainy mindset, when people think of things, one by one, a lot of people think like the National Geographic Channel. If you read a book, literally, if you socialize, if you actually read correctly, your mind will go like this instead of this. As an autistic, rapid rate like this, okay? So, what that does for an officer is that literally it lets them think miscellaneous. So they're obviously no more temptation things like this. Literally, oh, we're going into the central government. People are black and white. Literally, when they had the sticks back in the Civil War, the ancient war, with Abraham Lincoln. When he tried to not be black, free the slaves. This and that, and then it goes down to the security system now. This is very important because the average, when they collect this stuff, you see how I'm all, quality, with Daniela, not this Daniela, but, and, what ends up happening, right? Is like, when people do these Deus Ex Machinas, when they hide behind, One Piece like Samurai Jack, when they actually think correctly, so how they think is like this, they think like a book, and what that does is really white people have been reading the book, hiding behind this point at the point that's defined and makes suicide for centuries, all the way to the point where it comes to your dad. So what happens, to people like your dad, people over 30, literally what ends up happening is the majority of the people that literally you look up to think that they are very street smart. I know the ins and out, through Penguin Drum of what they said, because what they did was they hid behind an elevator, they hid behind an arcade, they hid behind a whole bunch of sexual crimes, but they were reminded of what they were doing was they were talking shit, like fucking Penguin Drum, right? Literally, they were talking shit with their criminal record. They're going in and out. They're lying at the right time to cop a damn principal, literally, and they got a mediocre job, like literally, like an officer that's specifically made, to put their hands on, an insane criminal. Okay, so what that does, right? Is that literally when a father is making a speech to his son, literally, and the police come over, literally, and he's ducking behind all these, dates and smockers. He just said a date, literally, he just faked his criminal record, right? Literally, what ends up happening is every time your fucking dad says this to you, oh, Eris, literally, I was just trying to get done with this, is that, and he's hiding behind a Deus Ex Machina, okay? That's how normal adults literally think. It's the exact same reason why they have so many miscellaneous, or so many, combustion literally effect, literally, that leads up to their lie. It's the exact same reason why an officer can ignore, so much miscellaneous enough to a point where they can get that crate and put you on cardiac arrest, okay? I feel like, an officer is above autism where it comes to their duty, but not, where it comes to actually, autism criteria, because autism can actually, keep up with evolution. And, with being selfish, with fans of regression like me, they can use autism for what they want. Now, on to the next segment of this video. James, I know the reason why people think they can get over me is that they think that I don't have prayer recognition. Let me know. I'm not impressed by anything. You know why? I know that James rapes, okay? I know that literally fucking he tries to rape his family, this, and that. And that's an actual fact about female validation on paper, guys. That's why I don't give a fuck about shit, really, because I recognize that literally, in order to get concrete female validation, you have to get in trouble a lot. Literally, you have to go in and out. But when you see something, it's one whole example, which is the exact opposite of how white people think, okay? They're willing to go in between, use the outside on black people, okay? So, one of the most famous times that James actually raped was when he was playing Sly Cooper after he caught the feeling his cousin. He was saying, James, the police are here. The police are here. Stop playing Sly Cooper. It is very true. Literally. And so guess what I say about that situation? Because in the situation he's in right now, he has less than a lesbian cop. He has less than, the average, officer than views on. Literally, so James has less of a criminal record than everybody. I'm hanging out with him, every single day, at Alpha and Omega. And what ends up happening, right? Is that literally I end up, looking at his glow versus what he did. And, he thinks it's impossible for him to be his family. I know how James can be his family. That's how mature I am. But, it's out because the whole fact that, when you set the example is the exact same reason why you separate a black man from that saying something. Okay? Now, understand that, since I know he does this and that, I also know that he's a nerd. I also know that he's on Cartoon Network, alright? So he goes to me, he gets tossed around like a fucking potato. Literally, he has smart ass shit, like literally he watches a cartoon or drip like Teen Galaxy, like, yo, Cole, this other character should fuck each other, okay? Literally, that's how he builds up his style. But anyway, before I ruin this video, this is Bootrix, and I'm generally out.